Check, check, 1, 2.
First name, last name, date of birth. Make a bed, sign paperwork. Once the ink dries, can't say a word. Just another day of work. Keep the even though I love you, you should say it first. She in med school, I wanna date a nurse. I know you've been hurt, I don't wanna make it worse, but I know that I'm liable to make it worse, yo. Oh my, she's so fly. 9 to 5, but she wanna be somebody. I can tell you need somebody. Put that thing on me, cause I need somebody. Girl, I'm at the 21C, come find me. I want you to be the one I keep beside me. Baby, don't stop, can you keep massaging? I know that you probably think I keep some thotties. But that's besides the point. Got the windows tinted, can't find you, boy. Lock it down, have the hours at a private joint. They treat me different in the city, on the pride and joy. Got a couple old flames that I'm trying to avoid. Got a couple things with me she ain't tried before. Well, what you waiting on? Oh my, she's so fly. 9 to 5, but she wanna be somebody. I can tell you need somebody. Put that thing on me, cause I need somebody. Girl, I'm at the 21C, come find me. I want you to be the one I keep beside me. Baby, don't stop, can you keep massaging? I know that you probably think I first name, last name, date of birth. Make a bed, sign paperwork. Once the ink dries, can't say a word. Just another day of work. Even though I love you, you should say it first. She in med school, I wanna date a nurse. I know you've been hurt, I don't wanna make it worse, but I know that I'm liable to make it worse, yo. I played you my first hit before it dropped. You were in the driver's seat and I was on the aux. You made this thing face, that's how I knew it was hot. Looking back, I gotta wonder if you would've thought that my life would've changed like this. That every station in America would play my shit. That I would do a remix and I could take my pick of any rappers that I wanted and they get on this. I can't imagine you did the way you see it. Ain't no way that I don't have a new. And it ain't fair, cause you know I got a whole lot of friends that's gonna tell me who they seen you on the avenue with. The playing field ain't leveled, that's how I engineered it. You don't know when I'ma pop up and when I'm disappearing. Lately it's been something I don't really like in your spirit. While it's lame, made the beat and nigga John engineered it. She ain't flying in spirit, she's a Delta, not the kind with the pyramids. You got something that I'm trying to experience. Leaving comments, got them all getting curious. Couple phone calls, now we calling it serious. I say I'm in love when I fall for appearances. It's a lot of clubs trying to call for appearances. Last one I did, I caught a vibe with the bottle girl. Told her that I'm leaving, but I call when I'm here again. That was West Virginia, don't know when I'll be there again. People in my circle wonder when I'll be arrogant. Feel like they can't wait to say I stepped out of character. She said that she wanted me to take care of her. She said she want me to London in person. She said do your thing long as I don't embarrass her. Damn, I ain't even get to test out my character. She ain't flying in spirit, she's a Delta, not the kind with the pyramids. You got something that I'm trying to experience. Leaving comments, got them all getting curious. Couple phone calls, now we calling it serious. I say I'm in love when I fall for appearances. It's a lot of clubs trying to call for appearances. Last one I did, I caught a vibe with the bottle girl. I know you hate the way we drifted, but we both inside this party and we lifted. So what's up? I'ma sip my drink and crack a big smile just to see if I can still get you, cause it's been a while. Yeah, it's been a minute now. Your friends just started listening to my music, but I've been in style. You say that I play too much, but we both know I've been a child. Asked you when you got to town, you say that you been in town. It's f***ed up. So you just wasn't gonna hit me? Looking like this, you thought it wasn't gonna tempt me? I'm sorry, but you ain't gotta bar me up. You should come and step into my world just like Narnia. I won't do no harm to you, come on, let's find a quiet spot. How's your sister and your niece? Does she still cry a lot?
All right, it is 1 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. Okay. Hope y'all are doing great. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Android. Your first project is not related to Android. Just so you know, your first project is again going to be getting a project working in C, although there is going to be an in-class assignment today related to Android Studio. Somebody's asking, do you have a preference for the file format that the Android Studio selfie is in? No, not really. It just needs to be a picture, like a PNG, a JPEG, something like that. Needs to be a picture. All right. So, I wanted to ask though, you will be making an Android app, an Android phone app in this class. So I'm curious, what kind of app do you plan to make? What kind of app do you plan to make? Let me know. Get logged into Minty. I guess I can put that link in the chat for y'all to make it convenient. All right, so we're seeing some answers. I'll give y'all just another minute to get a few more answers in before I make some comments. All right, cool. So I see people have had a chance to put in some answers. I see a lot of you are thinking about doing a game. That's great. You can absolutely do a game, but you're gonna definitely want to use some kind of like game framework. I've had people in the past try and make a game from scratch, and of course, that was garbage. You're gonna definitely want to use some kind of framework to help you make that game. Let me know in the chat. Do you have any idea what kind of framework you might use to make a game? Does anybody have an idea in the chat? Seems like a lot of y'all are going to make a game. What kind of framework are you going to use to make such a game? All right, some people are saying Unity. That's perfectly reasonable. Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine would be kind of a lot for a phone, but maybe it works on a phone. I don't know. So the point I wanted to bring up just with the game in particular is that if you, Adobe Flash, if you are going to do something like a game, you're going to want to use a framework like Unity or like something else. You're not going to be wanting to start from scratch. The app is a group project. It's going to be the two-person group, of course, though. Other ideas that I see out there, like a planner or social media or whatever, or things like that, make sure you're aware those are going to require you to make an app, but also to make some kind of database in the cloud or something. So that's going to be more work for you. If you make a standalone app that doesn't require connecting to something in the cloud, that will be easier, but it's not a requirement either way. Just know that if you create like a social media thing, there's going to have to be something in the cloud to store the content, and that's just going to be more work for you. You're welcome to do it, but just wanted you to think about that. All right, cool. So good, interesting ideas. I'm glad y'all are thinking about it. At least 44 of y'all are thinking about it. So last time we talked, oops, let me get my drawing stuff up and running here. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, cool. So last time we talked about traditional software processes. We talked about things like the waterfall. and the spiral, although remember that's not super important. And we talked about agile. Who can tell me one difference between waterfall and agile? In the chat, who can tell me one difference between waterfall and agile? Iterations, customer involvement, very good answers, both of y'all. I like it, I like it. Anybody else? Build times, maybe. Communication with client, absolutely. Iterations. Agile is more easy to change. Change your requirements better, yes, absolutely. Waterfall is maybe better for completeness. That's a good one. Flexibility versus linear process. Documentation is heavy in waterfall. Y'all were actually paying attention last time. I'm so proud. Great work. Okay. Great answers. So, just drilling down into what y'all said there, Agile is all about talking to clients quite a bit, having iterations 1 or 2 week long, making sure you have a demo at the end of each iteration, working with the stakeholders pretty often. I think y'all have a good handle on what Agile is all about. The only other question I wanted to ask you is, this is an important one. This is one that might appear on a test. Who is Fred Brooks? Fred Brooks. Who can tell me who Fred Brooks is? Why is he important? Fred Brooks. Remember, he is a guy that looks kind of like this. I don't know if am good enough at drawing this yet. The older gentleman. Mustache. Worked down at UNC. Not too far from here. He was a Turing Award winner. That is correct. But does anybody know what book in particular? Yeah, wrote No Silver Bullet. There we go. Class, we have a winner. He wrote the book called Mythical Man Month, which was a book that I'm going to put that in the chat. Mythical Man Month. This is a book that, I spelled it wrong, obviously, but this is a book that if you're going to go and be a professional software developer, you should at least know the Wikipedia version of what this book is. It has things like there's no silver bullet to make software, perfectly. It has things like adding people to a software project, unlike other work, does not make it complete faster. Lots of great nuggets like that, but also it was kind of the first serious study of software development at scale. Okay, and that's why I won the Turing Award. You should at least know this book, know what it is, know it at kind of a Wikipedia level, and be able to discuss it at dinner parties. There's a lot of computer science dinner parties out there. All right, moving on. I want to take a quick survey and see what kind of grades would y'all like to have? What kind of grades would y'all like to have? This is your chance to let me know what kind of grades you'd like to have. Would you like to have an A, a B, a C, a D, or of course, I'm happy to give out an F if you'd prefer. You can write in your own here if you'd like. Get in your votes. A, B, C, or D. Great. So, I want you to think about your answers to this question as you answer the next question. Have you thought about an app idea, taken a C tutorial, downloaded Android Studio, completed an Android tutorial, taken a Python tutorial, or made a toy Android app? And these don't have to be things that you've done since the beginning of class. These are kind of just, have you ever done these things? Now let's see. So a surprising amount of y'all have done several of these things. I'd like to give you a thumbs up for that. Excellent. And I would like to say, if you have, done these things, I think my stream is a little bit behind. Anyway, if you have done these things, that's really good. If you've done most of these things, that's really good. That means you are on track to get an A in this class. If you've done, one of these things, you're not on track to get an A. All right, so the ones that I want y'all to consider doing in the next week or so, of course, is doing an Android tutorial and making a toy Android app. Those are things that are easy that you can get out of the way very quickly that will help keep you on track. All right, very good. I like what I'm hearing from y'all so far. And so I would say for many of you, your actions do match your expectations, and that is great to see. So that is really great. Okay, hold on a sec. My screen is behaving a little weird here. All right, here we go. So for today's lecture, we are going to do just a brief introduction to Android. We're going to talk about what is the Android operating system. We're going to talk about the IDE and its build system. Hello, hello. And we are going to talk about basic app development. I'm going to take just a second to say, can you let me know in the chat, is everything sounding okay? Everything sounding okay in the chat? I'm getting weird feedback from my streaming console here. Everything sounding okay? Let me know. All right. Sounds like y'all are saying that things sound okay. All right, great. All right. Sorry about that. I was just wondering because I'm getting weird feedback. It looks like it's really far behind in my console, but it seems like it's not actually far behind. Okay, so we're going to do a basic introduction to Android today, the Android OS. We're going to talk about a little bit the IDE and build system and basic app development. I want you to know that this is not an Android class, okay? This is not an Android class. That's an important thing that I want you to know. I am going to teach you just the very basics of Android. You are expected to kind of pick this up as you go, just like you would when you go to any, whenever you go to work, they're going to tell you, hey, we're making Apple apps, or we're making Android apps, or we're making websites, and we use the Blobbity Blue framework, and you're going to have to just pick it up and go with it, okay? So that's kind of what we're simulating here, intentionally I'm giving you a little bit, which they will not give you any, but I'm giving you a little bit of instruction, and you are expected to pick it up, the rest of it on your own, okay? So, just a little context. Android was bought by Google in 2005 and unveiled officially by Google in 2007. In 2008, they released the first mobile device that supported Android, and since then we've had all kinds of different Android systems come out. They have these cute names like ice cream sandwich, cupcake, Kit Kat, lollipop, marshmallow, nougat. And for instance, in 2017, 8.0 was released. I think we're on like 11 now. So that's kind of where we're at with Android. It's been around a while. One thing that you need to know when you are writing Android apps is that not everybody is on the latest. In fact, like only a few people are going to be on the latest. And then there's going to be a lot of people that are a few versions behind. And then there's kind of this long tail of trailing people. All right. So when you write an app, you have to decide how many people do I want to support? Do I want to support everybody? Or do I want to just make my app work for the last few versions? And so if you want everybody to be able to use your app, you have to do it all the way back to a super old API. So just be aware that is going to be an issue. Of course, the Android stack has all kinds of goodies to help you get going. That's one of the great things. When I talk about writing in a framework, this is kind of this is one of the ways that I might mean. So we're writing in the Android framework. You can see down here, it's all on top of a Linux kernel, right? So it's basically Linux under the hood. But from our point of view, it is really kind of what I would call an application framework. It has things like activities, which are really just kind of like pages. It has windows. It has packages that we can import to do certain things for us. And applications like our contacts application or even our phone application or our different browser applications are all written on top of it. This right here is the level that you're working in. You know, you are going to be writing applications. You are going to be using packages to write applications. You're going to be defining activities, which are basically pages and things like that. So that. Now, I recommend using the Android Studio to write your applications. It is the IDE that I recommend using. It's basically built on IntelliJ. So, who can tell me, I kind of screwed that up, but who can tell me what company is behind IntelliJ? Let me know in the comments. What company is behind IntelliJ? Is anybody out there? I'm seeing JetBeans, Amazon, Google, JetBrains, Oracle, JetBrains. In fact, the right answer is JetBrains, but the coolest answer so far is JetBeans. So it is JetBrains. JetBrains is a great company that does developer tools. Actually, one of the guys that I was on his thesis committee for recently, he has just graduated and gone to work as a researcher at JetBrains. They're a super cool company based out of Russia. They make sophisticated IDEs for all kinds of languages. I just wanted to mention all of that to let you know that they are going to be a great place to go to for really any IDE for most languages that you want. Okay, so IntelliJ, really JetBrains, the company, they are behind a lot of the IDEs that you know and love already. They use the Gradle build system by default. Just so you know, that's what's kind of telling, like that's what they're using to build their applications. The Android SDK is what we're going to be building on top of. As we talked about, there's many different versions of it. You're going to have to pick a version that you want to. JetBrains might be based out of the Czech Republic. I'm not sure exactly. You might be right. It's either Russia or the Czech Republic. Can't remember which, but they're a really cool company. They do some great IDEs and stuff. So yeah, we're going to be using the Android SDK that allows us to use things like all of the widgets that the phone has, all of the functionality, access the camera, access, make phone calls, send text, blah, blah, all the stuff that the phone does, that the smartphone does. It will automatically be downloaded while you're installing Android Studio or later on via a manager. Now, the basics of an Android project are, there is the XML, which has the basics are defined in XML files. There's the Android manifest file that has kind of everything. It says where everything is in the project. The definition of all the UI is in XML, like each activity is defined in XML, and many other definitions, such as like strings that are going to be used in your kind of UX, are also defined in XML. So if you don't know what XML is, you're definitely going to want to know. And that a lot of things are going to be defined in XML. We're going to be using Java to code our projects. So all the source code is going to be in Java. All of the building is going to happen in Gradle build scripts. You don't have to worry about that too much unless you do something specific and kind of unique for your project. And then there's going to be resource files such as images and animations. That's kind of what makes up an Android project. It looks something like this. And in fact, let's see if I can bring it up here myself. I have open. Here is an example of a Android project. I am kind of collapsing some things, but this is an Android project. This is the DuckDuckGo browser. I have the source code for it because it's an open source project. And you can see, for instance, under the app folder, there are manifest, like the Android manifest XML that defines everything in there. If you want to look at the code, it's under the Java package. There's lots of stuff, including testing code and internal code and external code. And there are things like assets. There are resources, such as configurations and other things like not sure what all of these are because this is a pretty complicated project. And where are the activity? All right, so that's just a real quick look at what this might look like. All right, let me go back to my presentation. All right, so that was Android Studio. It's running on my machine, just so you know that I have it running on my machine. Yeah, of course, Java files get packaged into this kind of executable, and they can get run on your actual phones. Not so interesting, though. I want to pause just for a second. Do y'all have any questions so far about Android Studio? Anything that I've said so far is confusing? You love it, you hate it, who knows? Just pausing for a second since I've been talking for a long time to see what y'all are thinking. Like y'all are thinking nothing. Okay, so somebody's asking, are all Android apps made with Android Studio? I would bet not, but honestly, I guess I don't know for sure. I have only made Android apps with Android Studio, but I'm sure that somebody else has made them in some other way. How often will we be using the Android emulator? So whenever this is a good question. Android emulator is something that allows you to run your app on a phone, on your computer. And that is like hard for some computers to do. So we will be doing that quite often. So you're going to need to figure out how to do that on your computer or on some computer. So we're going to be using that quite often. Is there an Android Studio tutorial in the Code Academy? Yes, absolutely. I recommend it highly. How long do we have to complete this project? Basically, the whole semester. We'll be doing it like every other week. We'll be doing some deliverable in this project. Is there a rubric for this assignment? Yes, there will be, of course, but this assignment is not released yet, so there is not a public one. Does it work like IntelliJ? Yes, Android Studio is basically IntelliJ under the hood. So yes, good questions. So this project we're doing now, which is the group project, is the one we do in Android Studio, What was the selfie thing? Okay, so there's two projects in this class. One is to make an app in Android Studio. The other one is to make changes to Xfig, which is an old kind of crusty C program for Linux. So yeah, so there's two projects: Android Studio, make an app, and then there's this old Xfig project. Those are the two things we're going to be doing in this class. If we use the Unreal Engine, we have to use their interface and extract APK file. Is it allowed? Yeah, if you want to use Unreal Engine to make a game on your, go for it. That's great. Make sure you write some real code and stuff, but I would encourage you to go for it. Make the coolest game possible. That would be awesome. What would you define as an app idea that is too complex and then one that is too simple? All right, so too simple. I think I saw somebody was asking about like tic-tac-toe. And if it was just tic-tac-toe, like a very simple version of tic-tac-toe, I think that would be too simple. If it was like some kind of twist on tic-tac-toe so that I could take my phone, if I was at a restaurant and I could take my phone and give it to my two kids. I have an 8 and 11-year-old, and it was kind of like tic-tac-toe, but more exciting and more interesting with lots of bells and whistles. And it would actually entertain them for the whole time that we were waiting for our food, then that would be great. That would be good enough. Too complex is really only defined by, like, I'm never going to grade you down for too complex. I am only going to grade you down if you don't get it done. Okay, so there's no such thing as too complex from my point of view, but if you don't get it done, you don't get it done. So it's really just something simple. I mean, something that is complicated enough to kind of reach the bar, but not too complicated that you can't do it in a semester. Good question. What IDE would you recommend for the C project? I would recommend using something like VS Code. Somebody has said that C Lion is also a good one. Either way is good. You could also just use Notepad++ if you wanted to. No big deal. What about tic-tac-toe that you play over at Network? Would that be too simple? Well, it depends if you're playing over, like, if it was like a 3-phone tic-tac-toe, and again, there was some kind of twist to it, that could be okay, but it can't just be the basic tic-tac-toe game, because that game itself is just very simple, boring. So, yeah. I don't know why you guys are obsessed with tic-tac-toe. So an app designed to keep kids busy would be good. Yeah, that'd be great. If you can keep my kids entertained while we're waiting for food at a restaurant, I will give you an A. Are we allowed to reach out to other services and APIs such as authentication? Yeah, of course. You can leverage third-party services as much as you want. Absolutely, that is a great way to go further. Yes, some of my past students have submitted their apps somewhere so that it could be used publicly. Like, for instance, I remember some people released their putt-putt scoring apps last year, but unfortunately, they kind of left them in a half-finished state. So, they're out there, but I don't think anybody's using them. Solitaire, yeah, that's probably complicated enough to be a good one, but I don't know if you really want to implement that. It sounds like that'd be boring to me. Up to you, though. All right. All right, cool. So thanks for all the questions. I'm going to move on. Now we are going to do a quick in-class activity. This is released on Gradescope. Some of you might have seen this. This is for you to install Android Studio. It is released on Gradescope. Of course, log in with your @vcu.edu account, your email address, and submit by midnight today. I am giving you 5 minutes to do it right now. 5 minutes to do it right now. I'm going to start the timer to have you have a little head start on today's kind of work. And I am starting the timer right now. Go. download and install Android Studio on your computer. I'll give you some tunes to do that along with, but go ahead and do that right now.
Who you talking to now? Are y'all about to tie a knot? Hope not. Speak now, hold your peace. I will make that show stop. Remember back when I would come and spend the night at your house. Wake up by myself in bed cause you be at the stovetop. Walk inside the kitchen, put my hands up. Let me stop. Please excuse me, I know these are heavy thoughts. A man's greed can't see the things that he's already got. Did up between us cause I wanted you in every thought. Things would only worsen when you let me rock. Your bestie tried to warn you but you told her that he said he'd stop. You used to say her man was trash and tell me about the way he'd act. I would shake my head until I realized I'm the same as that. Now I wonder did she tell her man that I'm a trash dude, and would he shake his head until he realized he was trash too. I know this reunion's unexpected but it's past due. At least if you ask me, I won't ask you. So what you about to do? I know you hate the way we drifted, but we both inside this party and we lived it. So what's up? I can tell who's on the way out. 25 show, check the pay out. I ain't going home, I'ma stay out. Motherfuckers hate you when they looking for a way out. I just sit back and let it play out. Yeah, she gon' let me hit it any day now. What you gonna say now?
Alright, the timer's still running, but I did want to mention, people are saying like, yeah, I downloaded it, but it won't let me open it. So that is the assignment. The assignment is to get it running and to take a selfie, on your computer. So the assignment is to get it running. Alright, timer's still running.
Indigo blue. Might fuck around and get a gold tooth. I'm a restaurant goer, never been a Whole Foods. She gon' listen to the song, say this shit her whole mood. I'm in the mountains out west on the tour bus texting the chick I used to mess with. Got her in the bed doing video shoots. Tried to send one to me, but it didn't go through. Damn, she gon' let me hit it any day now. What you gonna say now? My ex-girl got a bait now, but she still let me stay now. I can tell who's on the way out. 25 show, check the pay out. I ain't going home, I'ma stay out. Motherfuckers hate you when they looking for a way out. I just sit back and let it play out. Yeah, she gon' let me hit it any day now. What you gonna say now? My ex-girl got a bait now, but she still let me stay now.
Yeah, I get paid to do me, that's a fact check. I run it up, then retrace my last steps. I'm in the eardrums, talking about assets. Do you wanna? Hold up, I ain't even asked yet. She got her hair done, she finna need it redone. What up, so good. Stuck it in, damn, that almost made me preak. I let her give me some advice like I need some. Booked up, tell her dumb, read some. I'm anointed, I'm the boss, I done came out of pocket so much. You thought that I was disjointed. They pointed me towards your diss, I'm disappointed. My ex treat me like I ain't there. What happened to the feelings and love that we still share? Just like the girls who got my name tatted and covered up, I know deep down, under the surface it's still there, still there.
She gon' let me hit it any day now. What you gonna say now? My ex-girl got a bait now, but she still let me stay now. I can tell who's on the way out. 25 show, check the pay out. I ain't going home, I'ma stay out. Motherfuckers hate you when they looking for a way out. I just sit back and let it play out. Yeah, she gon' let me hit it any day now. What you gonna say now? My ex-girl got a bait now, but she still let me stay now. Just saying, came in with an FN. Two girls with him told me he ain't got a preference. Had them both down and I asked a few questions. Had like I I'm everything that I said I'd be, everything that I bet I'd be. All the kids that I grew up with, they see me out and congratulate me. A couple of them just...
All right. That timer just went off, so we're going to go ahead and come back. Somebody is asking, should we be worried about the XFIG assignment in Gradescope right now? So we're going to be talking about that later today, but yes, the XFIG assignment is in Gradescope and it's ready to go. Y'all are going to be doing that for the next week. Yes. All right. So Android Manifest file. Hopefully you've started to download this so you can kind of, see this on your own computer, but that defines everything. That defines everything that you're gonna have in your project, like activities and just the application itself. It's just an XML file. You have to declare things in there. Usually if you're creating activities through the wizards and stuff within Android Studio, you don't need to actually edit this file, but I just want you to know that's where everything is defined. And it also defines things like what compiler and what minimum API version, and all your project settings and things like that. Also the installation location of your project, where it would go on the phone, things like that. So this is where any of those kinds of settings are in case you ever want to change those settings. Resource files are important because, for instance, you might have things that are drawable. You might have values like text. You might have menus. You might have the way that things are laid out. Like in your layout folder, you might have XML files which show how different activities are laid out. And you might have some raw data in the resources raw folder. Let's just take a 10-second look at this. I'm switching over to Android Studio. So what I was just talking about is the resources file. There's for instance, layouts, which is what your activities had a search widget. Here's a search widget for DuckDuckGo. You can see exactly how it's laid out here, and that's how it's defined. That is defined here. I'm looking at it in this kind of nicer view that is visualizing it, but you can of course look at the direct search, like the direct XML if you want to. There's raw data defined in here, and there's drawable things defined in here. Let's see, like PNGs, for instance, like icons and things like that. So just to know that the resource file has all that kind of stuff, and that's where you would want to put those things. The resource folder. All right, back to the presentation. All right, so when you design the UI, we're just going to use basically responsive UI, and I would recommend using the graphical editor to define your your elements in your UI, such as where buttons go and where views of text would go and all those kinds of things. Of course, you can also just edit the XML. You can do that directly, but maybe it's easier to start with the graphical editor for you. Typical things that you're going to want to add are layouts, like how to organize things that you've put on the page, fragments, things like individual things like buttons or text views or views of a tree or a list. And you might even have composite widgets, which is like a list view, a view of an entire list. So each UI element has a bunch of properties that govern how it looks and how it behaves. It's defined in XML, but it's also accessed and modified in Java. So for instance, like a button. A button is defined in XML, but there's always going to be some button handler behind the scenes that says on click, execute this code. Okay? So on click, execute this code. That's kind of how things are stitched together. You have an XML file which defines the buttons, and in that XML file, it probably refers to the Java that handles the button click. Okay, that's how those things are stitched together. You don't necessarily need to know all those details, but that is how that is happening. One of the most basic things that you're going to be writing is the activity. And again, I highly recommend you absolutely have to go through Android Studio tutorials to understand this. This is just a high-level overview. But activity just means the main page of a like a single page of an Android app. Okay, so anything that's called an activity, I don't know why they call it an activity, but it's like a single page of an Android app. And there are methods within it like onCreate, and you could, for instance, set up things like the text view within there. Lots of things are done in Android Studio by callbacks. For instance, you could associate a button and a particular listener in XML, or you could directly add a listener to a button like is done right here via code. You can see that we've done button.setOnClickListener to this, and here, if I put in code right here, this would happen when that button was actually pushed. So you can programmatically put listeners on buttons, or you can use XML to connect buttons or any UI elements and code. Typical things you're going to be working with are activities. These are the things we deal with the most. They are the physical kind of screens. I'm not physical, but they're the screens that you're looking at. Services, which are things that happen in the background. They're UI-less tasks. Of course, we'll do things like broadcast and receive things and encapsulate data. But activities is by far the things that y'all will need to deal with the most. Okay, so if you want to run the app, there are two ways to do this. You can do this either on an Android device, if you have one. I have an Android phone. You can set it up in development mode, and you can plug it in via USB cable and run your, download your app directly to your phone. Another way you can do it is, I'm gonna go back to mine. Where is my Android Studio? I'm going to go ahead and hit play here. Takes a minute, but you will see, hopefully in a minute, you can run Android. It's on the other screen, but I'm going to bring it back over. See how I have run Android Studio in this, and I have DuckDuckGo, which is the app that I'm developing here. It's running right there. So this is an emulator. Now, I want to hear in the chat, what are the advantages of running in a emulator versus the advantages of running on my own phone? Who can tell me why might I want to run on my own phone versus running on an emulator or simulator? Tell me in the chat differences. So somebody's saying if you don't have Android, you have no choice. Absolutely. Yeah. If you don't have an Android phone, you don't have choice. In an emulator, you can use any phone. It is kind of nice to test on the phone because you actually test the user experience. Okay, one other thing. So y'all have had some very good ideas on why. But one that maybe is not so clear is the performance. Like if you're running this on your computer and your computer is struggling to run the emulator, which many computers will struggle to run the emulator, you may want to try and do this on your phone, okay? Because it offloads the emulating to the phone. So that's something else to consider. when you decide kind of how to test your app. What we're going to do when you actually finish your app is you're going to deploy your app for wider consumption. There's a $25 flat fee to register. You're going to have to, divide that amongst your team. I don't have a required book for this class, so that's why I wanted to mention this up front. That is something that you will be required to do. You'll have to actually release your thing on the Google Market. The reason that we do that is not to just waste your money. I know it is a small price. It's $12.50, obviously, for each of you. But the point of doing this is to go through the motions of actually releasing things into the world. It's a lot harder than you might think. Okay. Any more questions from y'all? We've gone through a lot. Y'all have given me some very good answers so far today. I like what I'm hearing from this class so far. Maybe you're smarter than some of the other classes I've had. We'll see. It remains to be seen. But any questions that y'all have for me? I'll give you just a minute. And I guess I can put that code. Somebody's asking, is web page design in regards to how UI and interaction works similar to Android? It is similar. I would say probably Android is going to be easier because it's just kind of more constrained. Do we have to submit to Google Play if we already have experience doing that? Yes, everybody. Unfortunately, I don't know whether you have experience doing that, and so part of the grade will be submitting to Google Play. And also that allows me to download it on my phone for testing, which is an important part of the class. Are we allowed to monetize our app? Heck yeah. If you actually are able to make any substantial money on your app and you can prove it to me, and it's not through some kind of scam, then you will absolutely get an A in this class. If you actually build an app that people want to buy, if you can get more than a few hundred downloads that are legit, you can, and especially if you sell them, yeah, you can get an automatic A in this class. Can we upload a screenshot of Android Studio on our computer with our webcam open? Sure, yeah. If you don't want to do a selfie, sure. Making things complicated, but whatever. In the syllabus, there isn't a room number or a Zoom link for office hour. Do we just contact you through Slack? That's a great question. Sorry about that. I am in ERB 2322 in case you ever want to visit me. You can just contact me through Slack, though I'm always kind of monitoring that, especially during those hours, in case you need to talk to me. Would be willing to pay for it to test. I don't understand the question. If you monetize it, depends on how much it costs, I guess. If it costs like $1 or $2, sure. Can we use BlueStacks as an emulator for our app? I'm not familiar with that. Let me double check. BlueStacks. Yeah, sure. Yes, no problem. Because somebody's asking what are coding Fridays. We just do some coding together. Nope, those are the main ones. I mean, of course, there's always details. If you actually make substantial money on the project, that's an automatic A for the class. Make an app, should we charge for it, or is it based on downloads? I don't understand this question, sorry. Yeah, we'll get to turning in the app. Don't worry about, don't get ahead of yourselves. So we'll get to that when the time comes. Yes, and every Friday we will be working on Python. All right, that's I'm gonna have to move on. Great questions. Some people do. So, what I wanted to say though, in terms of Android Studio, you're going to definitely need more. You're going to want to go to Code Academy or whatever, or these other tutorials to learn more about Android if you don't know about Android. So, you're definitely going to want to learn more about Android. Make sure you do that. And I also wanted to say that on Gradescope, you now have 2 more assignments released. One of them is, I should have put this in the announcement, one of them is to install Android Studio. The other one is to compile Xfig. Okay, so make sure that you are, and maybe bring this up real quick so y'all can see it. We have the Coding Friday. The people have turned that in, and that's been graded. Installing Android Studio is the next thing that will be graded. That is due today really tomorrow by 3 a.m. And then next Wednesday, you need to compile Xfig. Okay, that is going to be hard. So please, 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 please start doing that. That is going to be hard. All right, make sure that you do that. Start doing that now. Ask questions on Friday. Remember, no class on Monday. But make sure you start doing that now. It's going to be hard. For instance, I bet a lot of y'all are going to ask me about apt-get. And where is that? And I'm going to tell you, let me Google that for you. So please start on that now. That is going to be hard. I bet we're going to have some zeros for that. So please take that seriously. All right. That's all I got for today. I'll stick around for just a second to answer your questions, but please, have a great day, and I will see you on Friday. Take it easy.
Just graduated, couple of them done had a baby, but all of them look at my life and say that's amazing. I say thank you like 20 times, try to talk about something else, reminisce on some funny time. Truthfully, I'm not comfortable with getting all the praise, even more when y'all get to drinking and start telling me all the things that you really think. Like what I should have done differently, what you think of my energy, the downsides that come with being friends with me. I can tell you think this is the realest that anybody's ever been with me, but luckily I got PG, and luckily I keep them with me. I keep it humble so you can have a good time. I keep it light so you can have a little shine. And I sleep at night just fine. I tried to be kind, now I'm speaking my mind. How you got the vocals, just make them like a little less harsh, something like that, but it's in that good world. Right here.
La música de Harry Fraud.
Once people lose touch with you, they start to hate you, start to show you their true nature, start to be the ones in the comments that's talking about you like you a stranger. Talking about you like y'all didn't have class together. Talking like you not humble now or you acting better. Speaking on the things you've done that they haven't ever. I play the game, you watch the game like Adam Schefter.